how did you accomplish such amazing success in your
I
life?
really loved the entertainment field. I loved being an entertainer. And so that was my goal, was to be
Wow.
Beyonce.
And you dealt with colorism. Was there a difference in the kind of discrimination you dealt with, like here versus Antigua?
Going to the Olympics, going to world championships, traveling the world, getting these medals.
You have to find your own funding. You don't sign with a team necessarily, right? So were you dealing with that as well?
Being told that I was too heavy to model, being told that I photographed and I had a fat face.
Like the average person can't work out 3 days a week. You know what I'm saying?
People who saw my value and believed in me, they didn't see me as a threat, they wanted me to thrive. But people who did see me as a threat and had limitations, they were the ones that would cast their insecurities on me.
Well, welcome. We're back for another episode, and our guest today is a track and field Olympian, entrepreneur, and nonprofit founder. She runs 3 successful businesses, is a 3-time Hall of Fame inductee, national record holder, and a world-class medalist. She's also a content creator, on-camera personality, and health and fitness advocate. You know we love the health and fitness stuff on this podcast. Please welcome Priscilla Loomis. Priscilla, thanks for hanging out with us today.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for having me. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, we're excited to have you on, and you got a very interesting bio, and your website says that you're a failure turned fighter, and you would never guess that from all your accomplishments. So, tell us about your journey. How did you accomplish such amazing success in your life?
I appreciate that. Honestly, it was one of those things where I feel like a lot of people hate putting that they failed at something because it's embarrassing and it's a vulnerability. And for me, that is where I have found my strength. That is where I find most connection. So owning up to those failures and that hurt and that pain really allowed me to look at myself and look at my entire journey for what it was and how much I've overcome, and how much I was able to change my own narrative. I came from a single parent household. My mother was from the Dominican Republic. And so when she came to this country, she had her own battles. She had to do a lot. And so for me, I saw that growing up, and I just wanted to be, honestly, I wanted to be her hero. Because I wanted to make sure that all the sacrifices that she made meant something, and they had the purpose. So I really loved the entertainment field. I loved being an entertainer, and so that was my goal, was to be Beyonce. Right, that's all I wanted to do. That's all I wanted to be. I wanted to make people laugh. I wanted to make people feel joy, and so. You start acting, you start going to all these auditions, my mom sacrificing that time and being told that I was too heavy to model, being told that I photographed and I had a fat face. So my mom pulled me out of that, going into pageants. And, when this is as a younger woman, having short hair was not a thing, right? So, being denied in different places, it was what it was. But then moving on to high school and then getting into plays and all that kind of stuff really opened up my eyes to what was possible. So again, that entertainment field was always what I was in growing up, and always being told no, but yet finding another avenue, figuring it out, and then getting into track and field, which I started when I was 6, and not loving it because it wasn't a big enough stage. Right. So I was like, oh, I'll do this for a little bit, but then getting into high school and starting to win competitions and be like, you know what? I love beating people. This is amazing. Yeah. And so it wasn't until I met with my guidance counselor that I was like, all right, let me go to college so that I can be in New York City. I can be, waiting tables, and then I'll become an actress, get discovered. And then my Beyonce dreams are right on track. Right. So it's one of those things where that was my plan, and my guidance counselor telling me I wasn't good enough, right? And so these people, I always realized that people who saw my value and believed in me, they didn't see me as a threat, they wanted me to thrive. But people who did see me as a threat and had limitations, they were the ones that would cast their insecurities on me at a young age.
Yeah. And and I was just going to say that's so destructive for a young person. Like, you're so vulnerable at that age.
Yes,
You know
you're a
what I'm saying?
sponge. You're a sponge.
Yeah.
You take in all of that. And the one thing that I chose not to do was believe it or give it power. As much as it's a part of my story, it's one of those things where it's like a fork in the road. Which path are you going to take? And I
Yeah.
kept on choosing the one that was me, not what other people were saying. So I defied the odds and I got a full track and field scholarship to St. John's University in track and field. And it was a really big eye opener in that sense because, again, I tried to do too many things. I tried to act, I tried to, audition and model and not eat and be skinny enough and then do track and then go to class.
Yeah.
And, so it was all these
Yeah.
things. And so I had to listen to people that were advising me in the right ways. And I just focused all on track. And that took me on a crazy journey of, traveling the country and then graduating, going to the 2012 Olympic trials for the U.S.
Mhm.
The U.S. really didn't find any value in me. And then moving forward, getting dual citizenship for the country of Antigua and Barbuda and competing for them, getting to travel the world. And that's where I got those accolades. That's where I got that, those wins. And so those things were really inspirational for me because obviously you want to
Yeah.
win medals, but it was also really eye-opening about the culture of Antigua and Barbuda and, having like a smaller island, but then also just seeing how people would treat me differently. So, I mean, there was a big journey, but ultimately going to the 2016 Olympics was amazing. It's the goal that I had
Yeah.
set for myself. And most people don't know this, but I cried almost every day at the Olympics just because I didn't have my coach. I was dealing with, sexism and racism and colorism and throughout this whole journey. So for me, everything that I have put my heart and soul into, somebody has tried to come and disrupt that in a negative way. And
Yeah.
that's why I say I'm a fighter and a failure because yes, I failed, but I've had to fight for myself, for my name, for my identity in order for me to be this strong warrior that I am today. So, going to the Olympics, going to world championships, traveling the world, getting these medals, and now being a very happily retired track and field athlete, becoming an entrepreneur, starting all
Mhm.
over again, and being vulnerable in that sense of, you're right, like everyone's like, oh, you'll get a job, you'll be fine,
Yeah.
everything will be,
Yeah.
you have to start all over again. I mean, I have
Yeah.
my Olympic rings, which opens doors, but it's not like that secure, concrete. Oh yeah, we're just going to give her the job because she's an Olympian. I still got to fight. I still have to do a lot more work. But it's been
Mhm.
an incredible journey, and so I'm here. I'm 35, and I still have my businesses. I have a nonprofit foundation, and we're chugging along.
That's awesome. That's really
It's a
cool.
very long-winded answer.
No, that's great. I mean, you provide a lot of insights, and I think with track, it's kind of an entrepreneurial sport to be playing, right? At
Yes.
least in the US, because you have to find your own funding. You don't sign with
Yes.
a team necessarily, right?
Yes.
So were you dealing with that as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, 100%. I started cleaning houses because I love to clean and I
Mhm.
wasn't getting
You love to
signed. I
clean?
love to clean.
Wow.
It was a cleaning business. It was called Flawless Cleaning. I
Yeah,
love to clean and organize. It's like a passion.
really.
And so that's what I
I'll have to
did.
get you to my office then,
I
because
got you. Don't you worry. You don't you worry. I got it. It's even
that's one of my weak areas.
even in my office, like my boss will come in and be like, "Priscilla, you're Swiffering again. That's not your job." I'm like, "I know, I just needed a little tidying up, right?" So,
Yeah,
but again, it was either I complain about not getting signed by Nike or Adidas or Puma, or I figure
yeah,
out a way to train and make the next Olympics, and that's exactly what I did. So I started my own company, which is now a property management company where I live. And so it's it's starting all over again and figuring it out. But when I was training, I made on paper $12,000 a year to train.
mm, Wow.
So I obviously had to supplement that income. So I was
Yeah.
bartending, I was cleaning, and then I was doing little speaking engagements here and there to provide and make a way for myself and make the Olympic team. So a lot of athletes don't have those big contracts. So we have to make a way for ourselves, and that's why you see a lot of GoFundMe accounts for these
Yeah.
athletes, because there is no funding. And so, especially because I live in the US but I didn't represent the US, that's even less
Right.
funding. So then you start doing social media. So I became an influencer, which I hated using. So I was like, I'm not trying to influence you so that I can get money so that I can train. It was,
Yeah.
I wanted to
Yeah.
align with products and companies that believed in me, saw my value, and that I could say, this is what I actually use, and this is something that could help. Let me offer you a discount if you were looking to buy this anyway. So that's pretty much how it all happened. And again, it's that I'm not ashamed to say that I was, cleaning toilets in order to make it, but that was the headline on one of the news articles. They were like, Priscilla, Olympian cleans toilets to train for Olympic Games. And my
Wow.
mom
Yeah.
was kind of embarrassed. And for me, that vulnerability shows people that we do what we need to do to be
Yeah.
great, and at that time a lot of people weren't investing, in track and field. Now it's, this huge thing, but back in the day you got to do what you have to do. And people, meet directors and stuff will pay for certain meets for you to get there. But on that day to day, 7 days a week grind where I'm training, 6 days a week, and I have to pay for the doctors and the coaches and the training facilities and the food and the car payments, like these bills will
Yeah.
add up. And when your body is your biggest tool, you have to make sure that you are at peak, level of condition to compete. So all of that fell on me. And so it's what you do. So it was difficult, but again, you just got to fight for what you're passionate about and what you feel your
Yeah.
purpose is.
Yeah. How hard was that? Like just physically training and trying to be prepared to perform at an optimal level with all the other things that you had going on, like having to find the funds and fund everything and take care of all the business stuff and then perform at like a peak level. That must have been difficult. Like
Mentally,
the
it's,
average person can't
yeah.
work out 3 days a week. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's it becomes, honestly, it was a mental block for me more than anything than the physical. My body was ready for it, right? Like I knew I was in that groove. I'd been running since I was 6. That's kind of like it was on autopilot, but it was the mental. Seeing other people get signed, seeing other people have their countries back them 2,000,000%, seeing people's facilities, seeing people have chefs, cook for them, and being when you're considered one of the top athletes in the world, and yet you feel like a peasant compared to them, it's tough mentally, to do that to yourself. So, I mean, my body went through what it went through, but that's 100% that was my job. I
Yeah.
can't complain about, you can't complain when your plate is full when you asked to be fed, right? So for me, I
Yeah.
wanted I wanted to make sure that I never complained about that, and I really tried not to complain, but I did. I felt myself being like, I can't believe I have to go through this. I can't believe that, I'm still cleaning toilets. I can't believe that I'm top, 20 in the world in my event, and I can't seem to get any kind of sponsorship or support. And then the other aspect of that was, of course, when you're talking about being in the media and in front of cameras, when you're darker skinned, you're not going to
Mhm.
get those. You weren't getting those bigger deals, right? And
Yeah.
that's where colorism comes in, and people are like, "Oh, that's not a
Yeah.
thing." It is a thing. It 100% is a thing. So those kinds of things are also tough. And but it was. I'm glad that I went through it, because one of the things that my coach always taught me was you never want to be waiting by the phone for opportunities. You have to make opportunities
Yeah.
happen. And that's something that now I have. I will always figure out a way. I will make it happen, and I will do what is necessary to get the job done.
Wow. And you dealt with colorism. Was there a difference in the kind of discrimination you dealt with, like here versus Antigua?
Not in the sense, so in the US, it kind of stems in like the complexion of like lighter
Yeah.
skin versus darker. In
Right.
Antigua and Barbuda, it's like some of my teammates just didn't really see my value or want to see my value because I was born in the States. They didn't really
Okay.
care about my dual citizenship, and that was kind of tough for me. Like one of my teammates said, if you spoke like us, we would like you better. So it's kind of that's the
Right.
kind of thing that I had to deal with in that retrospect. But you're gonna get it regardless. But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna complain about it. That's where we are, and especially when I want to be in media and I want to be in front of cameras, there's a certain, stereotype or look that they're looking for.
Yeah.
And so hopefully it is getting better. We've obviously come a long way with
I was going to
media.
say, do you think that's changing
It's
now?
100% because now with the TikToks and the influencers, it doesn't matter. Like people will love you,
Yeah.
for there's no director or somebody who's
Yeah.
hiring being like you must fit this bill. But even in
Right.
the entertainment industry, I know it still happens. There are still going to be those moments, but it is getting better. I truly believe that, yes. And you can see the inclusion, right? There are commercials with interracial
Hmm.
families. That never that
Yeah.
never happened, right? So it is
I
getting
know.
better and I'm happy about that. Um, but during my time, it was just tougher. That's all.
Yeah. I can remember years back, like every time I'd see an interracial couple on an
You're
ad
like,
or something, I'd be grabbing my wife, like,
what?
look,
It is. It's like
right?
the craziest thing. And I remember because the first time I saw it was the Cheerios commercial, and it was an interracial family, and it got so much
Yeah.
publicity, and unfortunately, it got a lot of hate. It really did.
Mm.
But that was like the first time, and I was like, "Good for you, Cheerios."
Yeah.
That's the way I'm eating my Cheerios.
They
I'm a
took a
Cheerios
chance, right? I
supporter.
mean, they took a chance
Yeah,
and they started a wave and a trend, I guess.
yeah,
So you do motivational talks. You mentioned
yeah.
that a little bit already since we've been talking. And all the people you talk to in your work as a speaker, what do you see as the single biggest obstacle in people's lives when you're trying to get them to take things to the next level in their own lives?
So I really focus it. I focus on the audience that I'm speaking to, so it changes a bit. I think people for, and this is what they tell me, the biggest impact that I've had in what I've said is that it took me 8 years for one day. Most people can't take that much rejection. Most people can't take that much failure.
Yeah.
Most people can't, if it's not successful, because we live in a society of instant. So if it takes a year, it's way too long. It takes 2 years, takes too long.
Yeah.
It takes 5 years, it's too long. So it took me 8 years for one day of competition that averaged, I don't know, 20 minutes. So it's one of those things
Wow.
where it's the sacrifice of how, because you don't know. It's the unknown. If you're going out to become an entrepreneur and this is your business, you don't know if it's going to succeed or not. You don't know if that investment is going to make it. You don't know if that connection is going to
Mhm.
be the thing that changes your life. You don't know. It's the unknown. It's the fear. It's the anxiety of that. And that's it. People don't know what the future is, and that makes them upset. But what I try to let them know is that it's a choice. It's a choice of what you're choosing every single second, what you ingest, how you talk to yourself, what you look at, and ingest meaning what you're listening to, the people you surround yourself with, what is consuming your life. That's a choice. How you wake up in the morning is your choice. And so I think when it comes to relationships, when it comes to friendships, when it comes to jobs, it's everything comes down to your attitude and how you're approaching it and how you're planning it. And I think when people start to align, they think it's like, okay, I made the plan, it's going to go smoothly. And when it doesn't, they're like, oh, all is lost. It's like you've
Yeah.
got to be ready for
Yeah.
everything that comes with it, and nobody can tell you what it's going to be, because there are different peasants along the way no matter where you are. So as soon as you start to align with where you're going and what you want, they think it's going to be smooth sailing, but they should be 100% ready for all of the negativity, for all of the crap, for all of the, like I call them peasants, to come and try and steal your joy, to try and block you
Yeah.
from your blessing. And so that is one
Yeah.
of the biggest things that I consistently have to tell people. And that is why I feel like I always use the term warrior, this warrior badass spirit, because it is. You have to take your armor every single day. There is no day that you can just leave it at home. You need your shield, you need your sword, you need your protective armor, and you need to fight for everything that you want in life, because not everyone's going to be happy for you on this journey. And you also need to understand that you are going to battle. This is a battle for you. It's a battle for your mind, your
Yeah.
soul, your spirit, everything. So that is probably the biggest overall what I speak on, and the biggest takeaway for people.
Yeah, and I think it takes courage to for somebody to make an entrepreneurial
Oh my
decision
gosh.
in life to go
But
do
anything,
something
with
like
with
it.
anything, not just entrepreneurship, it's the courage to say, I want to switch careers. The courage to say, I want to go back to school. The courage to say, I need a divorce. The courage to say,
Yeah.
I think I'm ready to get married. The courage to say, I'm going to have a
Yeah.
family while I have a job. Like, it is courage to do anything. Entrepreneurship is just the unknown, but it really does. And that's why I say you have to fight for you. You have to fight for your will to live out in your purpose.
Yeah, I remember this nurse practitioner. I don't know why this is coming back to me now. Years ago, she was in her early 70s, and she had only been doing that job 5 years. She quit an entire career, went back to school, became a nurse practitioner, and there she is in her 70s and loving what she's doing. And to make that switch at that stage in life, I never forgot that, because
Yeah.
I just found it so
It's
inspiring. And
amazing.
just she found her purpose. Yeah, right? At that
Yes.
age, I mean, I just
And
thought
that's
that
what
was
you see
awesome.
now. A lot of
Yeah.
things, and I guess it's my algorithm, but it gives me these sayings of, this person started at 41, this person started at 50, this person started at 60.
Mhm.
It's not too late. You can do anything you want. And so that has given me the most confidence of, you know what, because those years after I retired, I was in my 30s, where most people had internships and they were kind of on their career path. I wasn't. I was still trying to figure out where
Right.
I wanted to be and where I wanted to land, and what was I passionate about. And so it gave me a lot of courage to say, you know what, I'm figuring it out. And yeah, it's embarrassing for people to be like, what are you doing now? And then 6 months later, they're like, oh, I saw you switch careers. And I'm like, yeah, these are my internships. I'm figuring it out. But
Yeah.
you can't live a life where you're unfulfilled. I think it's doing a disservice to you.
Absolutely agree. And, on that same notion, balancing health and wellness, I know you're big on that. Tell us a little bit
Mm-hmm.
about that. Do you live an active, healthy lifestyle?
Can I be honest? Is this an honesty
Please.
podcast? So what I found was, and it took, again, I've been retired since 2021. I have not worked out a day since I retired. I have
Really?
not. And I
Okay.
knew I needed a break. I mean, I gave it everything I had. And unfortunately, 2021,
2021?
2021.
2021?
And
Okay.
so
Yeah.
COVID, right after COVID, the Olympic year. Yes. I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
and I got COVID, and I missed out on my second Olympics by 4 spots. And it was
Oh,
because I
wow.
couldn't train. My doctor legitimately kept me out.
Mm.
I defied their orders, still tried to, and missed out by 4 spots. Um,
Mhm.
the relationship had been broken. I was like, I'm hurting, so I need a break. And then I realized, like, I will find what is going to make me happy workout wise if I try different things. So I've tried surfing. I love surfing. I think it's one of the greatest things ever. I'm going to try boxing.
Mhm.
I like full body, sports.
Yeah.
It won't be running. It will not be running. I love weight room. I love lifting. So it's little things here and there that I find. For me, health and wellness has transitioned into my overall mental state and being at peace and finding peace. So now it is relishing in beautiful meals, food, right? That nourishment,
Mhm.
going out and making sure that I'm just enjoying a meal with the company that I keep. It is making sure that I cut out toxic relationships, right? That is where
Yeah.
I find myself on my health and wellness journey, because that is the thing that needed to be repaired the most. That was what was important to me. Will I have to be active? Yes, I'm 35. My metabolism is going to slow way down very soon. I have the feeling. So I need to get.
I'm surprised because you look like you work out.
I,
So when you said that, I'm surprised you haven't worked out
yeah,
in
everyone,
years.
my husband
That's
gets
pretty
very upset.
wild.
He's very upset. He wakes up at 5 a.m. to
Does
go to
he?
the gym. Yes, yes. And I'm like,
Really? And you just
I
not, you
roll
got no
over. I'm
part in
like,
that.
don't. I'm like, leave me alone. Get away from me. Yeah, I haven't. I do little things, here and there. Cleaning. I'm still, cleaning with my cleaning business, so I take that as a workout. Yeah. If somebody, one of my clients is like, oh, we're doing this class. Oh, I took a Pilates class, once, like, if a middle school wants me to
Yeah.
run a workout for them, it's little kids, we're running around a gym and stuff. But yeah, I just haven't found it. But yeah, I think I've gained maybe 4 or 5 pounds. That's it.
Okay.
This is all residual.
Yeah. I mean, that's like nothing.
I'm happy. My jeans still fit.
Yeah.
So I can't be too upset. Yeah, I think it's definitely. I like to say that it is residuals from the years of training that I did. But I
Mhm.
eat an apple every once in a while, and the salads and stuff. So you try to eat as healthy as possible. But yeah, my life has just changed. But I
Yeah.
think for me, and I think and that's the other thing. Like, I'm making that choice of being like, what does health and wellness mean to me? And some people are like, well, that's not what journey I'm on. And I'm like, that's the journey that I'm on. And I'm very open and honest about that as well. That doesn't mean I'm not going to support somebody on their journey, but this is mine. So,
And you're right. Health and wellness is an
yeah,
entire spectrum. It's not just what you eat or whether you
yeah,
go to the gym, but you hit it when you said mental state because you can have the most rigorous workout routine. You can eat, clean
yeah,
organic foods nonstop, but if your mental state's not there,
yeah,
you're still going to get sick. And a way that manifests, funny enough, how important mental state is. A friend of mine's a doctor, and he was talking about Happy John, who's 96, who smokes 4 packs of cigarettes a day, but he's laughing all the time and he's
yeah.
got a joyous spirit. My godfather was like that. He smoked a pipe like every
Wow.
single day, like constantly. And he was a big dude, not big in
Yeah.
a good way, but he lived like well into, I think he lived into his 90s. And it was that mental state. There was always laughter. Whenever he came to the house with my parents, there was just laughter nonstop. He had that healthy spirit. So people forget the mental side and they think the gym
Yeah.
membership is the remedy or
Yeah.
dieting, crash
Yeah. And that was
dieting or
one thing.
whatever it
Yep.
is. No, mental has to be
2 million. And
first.
that's what I say. What you ingest, mentally, physically, and spiritually is what you're going to be producing. And you have to be at peace. You really do. At peace with your life, with your relationships, and where you are. 100%. I couldn't agree more.
And you said you dealt with
Yeah.
body image
Hmm.
issues in the past. And I
Yeah.
want to go back to that a little bit. Tell us more about that. Like what was that? Was it weight that you were battling when
So
you were
it's
younger?
funny. It was everything that was on the outside. It was never internal. I was always a tall, lanky kid. And so that's why I became a high jumper. But it was one of those things where when you get into the modeling world and they tell you that you're too heavy, when you're on auditions and you see people around you and their leg would be like my arm, and so it was, and then they would get the job and I wouldn't, and I'm like, okay, well, there's a reason, right? From people telling me that I photographed that, to being at track meets, and one of the coaches smacked ice cream out of my hand and said I can't eat that, to somebody saying that if I lost a couple pounds I would have competed better at a certain meet. People love
Hmm.
to tell me that I was overweight, and then it started to get to me. It was always about your weight, and you can see this trending topic for a lot of female athletes, right? People at different schools, people with their different coaches, making girls write their weight on their hand before they jumped in the pole vault. Insanity. It was just everything, and because you're competing
Yeah.
in a little bikini, in a sense, it makes it
Yeah.
really targeted. I loved the way that I looked.
Yeah.
I always have. I've been very confident in how I look because this is it. I can't change it. So for me, it was
Hmm.
just about if I felt good, I would compete well. And then I started to look at the other competition who was beating me, and they were taller than me and skinnier than me. So then I started to drink a
Hmm.
pot of coffee before I would compete, so it could flush me out and I would be pretty much dehydrated, but I'd look good. And that was like my theory. I wouldn't eat before I competed. It was always something along those lines of just irrational thinking. And the one thing that Katie Najat Moon, she's the former Olympic gold medalist, um, and she said in a podcast interview, the crazy thing is, I never knew my competition weight. I never knew what I competed at when I did my best or my worst. So I had no idea. It was just irrational.
Hmm.
And that's what I realized. I was like, yeah, I mean, I Googled every girl that I competed with. I Googled their weight and I went down a spiral. And it just kind of got out of control. And but again, it's not like I went to somebody and spoke about it. It was just, Priscilla, what are you focused on? What is happening? Is it important? Is this
Hmm.
rational? And I had to look at myself and be like, this is it, Priscilla. You're still a world class athlete. You're not built like
Yeah.
them, but you still have talent. You're still athletic. And you're a badass. So it doesn't matter about your weight.
Yeah.
You're making all the right decisions. Just keep training, trust your team, and keep it moving. And that's kind of what I had to do. And that's even like now when people are like, oh my God, you look amazing. I'm like, thank you. I stopped caring. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I stopped it all and I'm just living in
Yeah.
peace and happiness, and it's kept the weight off. Or,
Hmm.
I just feel better about my life. And I think that has had a tremendous effect on my life.
Yeah, definitely. Like it's that mental piece we're talking
Yeah.
about. Do you think that women get a lot more of that in sports than men? Just the weight issues and the body shaming and things like that?
I can't say yes or no because I've never been a male athlete. I've never spoken to males
Yeah.
about this. But it has to
Hmm.
be. It can't just be men. I mean, it can't just be women. There's no way. I know that it may not be as much, but I know it does happen. It has to.
There's just so much pressure
Oh
on
my,
women, I think, unfairly when
men
compared
are
to
fully
men, just on
covered. Yeah,
appearances, hair length. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. But like everybody's looking at
yeah,
women a certain way and making judgments that they don't make
yeah,
on men. I just think that's in culture too. I just think
yeah.
outside of sports, the pressure to
Oh,
look good is so different for women, what
yeah.
women have to go through. And so naturally you would
Mm-hmm.
see it in sports. And
It is
it's really
unfair, but
unfair.
life is unfair, right? We've put up these unrealistic expectations. And so that's why I also love the way that people are showing up for themselves. You can see it. People are just they're 100% comfortable in the skin that they're in, slowly but surely. And I
Mhm.
think that's what we need. You see TikTok, you see Instagram, you see influencers. We all look different. We all, speak different. We have different loves. We have different passions. But we found our community, and I think that's what's really important. That's what I love. That's what I love
Yeah.
about this. How this life is moving forward. It's just that we're all just accepting each other for our differences. Um, of course, certain things are not going to change ever, but it starts with one person just owning up to who they are and what they love, and um, loving what they look like in the mirror. And I think that is, I would have never, like in years past, I would have never had braids. I would have never worn glasses. I would have never not had makeup on in a podcast
Mhm.
interview. And now I'm like, this is me. I feel so pretty. I feel so comfortable. And it comes with age. But I think it's
Mhm.
more of,
Mhm.
I want to make sure that my nieces can see me and be like, Auntie is so happy, right? Like, look at how, look
Yeah.
at, I want my being at peace to shine through my skin, right? Like, I want people to see more than just
Yeah.
my looks. I want them to see happiness through me, God's love through me, growth through me, a fearless badass through me. I want to be that light. And I think it's more than just skin deep.
Yeah. And that attitude comes with age, I've found.
I
So when you're
100%.
young, like when you're 20 and there's not a magic age necessarily, but you're in that people pleaser mode where you're
Oh,
so concerned and consumed with what other people think
yeah.
who aren't even thinking about you or me in that moment, but we
Yeah.
get so caught up in that.
It's funny because like people who are like 60, they're like, I don't give a about them. Like,
Yeah.
cause you're just like, you're right. Like, why do I care?
Yeah.
Why do I care? And
Yeah.
that's kind of like where I'm at. And people know that about me. They're like, oh, Priscilla doesn't give a damn about anybody else's opinion. I'm like, I really don't. Cause it's your opinion. Your
Yeah.
opinion is your own. I'm going to live my life the way that I am. As long as I'm being a good person, that's all that matters.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a real trailblazer in life is that kid who figures that out at 12, because there are young people that think that way.
Oh, and
And I
that's it.
love that. I
Yes.
mean, that just
I love
that's
it
so much
too.
mental strength and confidence that young people
Yes.
need, but so many of them lack. And why is that? Because it's what you're saying.
Yes.
Like, it's all that negativity. It's being told you're not good enough. There's always going to be
Yeah.
haters around you. There's no way around that.
Yes.
Unless you move on to an island
Always,
somewhere,
always, always.
you're going to have haters, right? You've had it, I've had
Yes.
it. It's just part of
Yes.
life. And when you can expect that,
But the one thing I never want, I want people to never let it start with that. That inner dialogue that we tell ourselves is extremely important too. That's
mhm,
the choice that I decide to make.
yeah,
My inner dialogue is freaking pristine. It can't stem from me 100%.
yeah,
And that's what a lot of people do. They love talking down about themselves. So when other people, like, they'll talk bad about themselves, I'll be like, please don't talk about my friend that way. And they
yeah,
like laugh because I'm just like, yeah, you can't. Like,
mhm,
why are you speaking ill about yourself? No, no, no. We don't do that. We don't do that at all. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm irrationally positive.
see, you're that master encourager. You're that friend that everybody needs to have.
I'm
Yeah, yeah.
ridiculously. It's just like, and people will like they'll be texting me and they're like, oh, here's positive
I wouldn't
Priscilla
say
again. I'm like,
irrationally. I
here I
like
am.
that.
Hello, that is 100% me.
But
Me.
everybody needs that person in their life, because what's the opposite? It's a
Yeah,
hater,
yeah,
right?
100%.
So,
So I feel like I think it's a good job, it's a good title that I hold.
yeah, definitely. So, Priscilla, how can people get more familiar with you and what you're working on?
So it's funny because somebody just asked me this, and because of my nonprofit, we're doing a fundraiser, and I was like, all you got to do is Google Priscilla Loomis, and I just come up. There's a lot of things that come up, but you can visit priscillaloomis.com. And
Mhm.
all my information is there, and we can have a chat. And I'm always up to grabbing coffee or tea, or a beer or wine, whatever you fancy.
Mhm.
But then I'm also very active on social media. Instagram, for some reason, wouldn't let me change my to my married name. So it's still Priscilla underscore Frederick. But like I said, if you Google Priscilla Loomis, my entire life is out there for the open. Nothing is hidden. You can find out anything about me. So PriscillaLoomis.com or on social media.
Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes, and we'd love to have you back for another chat.
Yes. I would love to chat again. This has been so
This is great.
I love it. I mean, this has been absolutely amazing, super comfortable. And so I thank you for sharing your platform with me and highlighting my story. But please know I'm always here. And anybody who's listening, I'm always here to help and be a little positive Priscilla in your pocket. So
awesome.
I'm always here to support.
Thanks for being that light in the world.
Oh, I try.
Well, that's going to do it for this edition. We are out of here. Make sure you check us out at mikecpodcast.com. Drop us a comment, send us a note, hit us up on Instagram. We're on X, Twitter. I always mess that up, but it's the same thing. And you can find us there. And until next time, thanks, guys.
The Mike C Podcast.